Yeah, I can hear you. You're really loud though. But that's just to me. I don't know. It's probably because the. Oh, you're better there. Okay, unmute that.
Um, Sorry, one
It's
sec.
okay. It's no problem.
Maybe I have to just leave and read. There we go.
Back? All good?
Yeah.
Sweet, sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to make pastrami today. That's why I had to go get I had to go get some charcoal. It ran out.
Dude, I'm always never there when you make pastrami. What the heck?
I know. Yeah. It's been in the brine for a week. I have to do it today. Kind of being a little lazy about it though.
Mm-hmm.
Not lazy, but I just feel like it. But I'm gonna do it.
It just takes time. I feel that. That's how it's
Yeah, it
been with
takes.
making the sourdough, dude. It's been like I have to do everything the day before, so like it all starts like even the day before you do the dough, because you got to feed
Right,
the
right.
sourdough the night before, and normally you use it 12 hours later. So like I have four different starters that I have right now. I have one that Jordan's aunt gave us, one I made off of that, and then afterwards I took some out of that and made a liquid starter, which provides
Uh
more of an
huh.
acidic taste or gives it a more like intense sour taste to this dough. And then I made a stiff starter recently, so I have four different sourdough starters I have to feed every day, and it just
Nice.
like gosh, like so much flour, so much flour. It
Oh
takes
yeah,
so
dude.
much
And it's
time.
a sourdough like the starter's super sticky and messy.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
uh,
Gets all over everything. It's a pain in the ass to clean.
yeah, like it's it's basically like I used to like clean my hands between so I didn't transfer things, and then I just stopped caring. I'm like I don't really care because I normally make like I'll make 3 loaves at a time if I make sourdough. Like yesterday, I just baked 3 jalapeno cheddar loaves.
Right.
Um,
That sounds good.
oh yeah, they were really good. They came out really fluffy, super nice. I'll make you guys one next time I go.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome. I love sourdough. My brother makes it all the time.
Mine's not as intense. I wish it was a little more sour. Uh,
How
I've
old is
got
the starter at this point?
we've been taking care of it. I think it's been like where it came from originally was like 4 or 5 years old, maybe.
Oh, okay.
So we got like Jordan's aunt poured some in a jar, and we've just been keeping it up for a while. We weren't using it. We were just feeding and discarding it, and I just got
Right.
tired of it. I was like, dude, we're just like wasting flour, not making
Right.
any bread out of it. So I basically like looked up how I started my little jar was I took some of the main, and it was advised to put like 25 grams of sourdough starter in a jar, then 100 grams of flour, 100 grams of water. Do that at 9 o'clock at night. The next day it'll literally be ready. And I did that, and it was super active. And so I just started like experimenting, with different starters or starting at different times. I'll have to feed them later. But
Nice, man.
yeah.
I like it. I like it. Making vinegar right now. I don't know if I
Oh,
told you
yeah.
that.
You told me.
Yeah, I tasted it, and I mean it's only been a week, and it's already starting to taste like vinegar. God, my neck hurts.
Apple cider vinegar?
Yeah,
Nice. Super healthy for
yeah.
you.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's already fermenting pretty well so far. So probably another like I don't know, week and a half or so, I'll be able to take the apples out, jar it all up, and start using it for shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to start using it in the barbecue. That's what I
Oh,
want
yeah.
to
You
do, dude.
use
Apple
it
cider
for
vinegar is expensive.
keeping like meat moist, right? As you cook.
Yeah, well, and I use it in barbecue sauces and stuff
Mm.
too. So yeah, and I kind of hate buying it from the store because it's so expensive, and I use so much of it. It's like what is it? It's like $8 for a gallon.
Did you go get the apples yourself?
They're yeah. Well, we have an apple tree. Well, we have two.
Okay.
Yeah, we have an apple, a pear, and a cherry. And I think we're trying to get a peach tree.
It's good for the roots to freeze, so it actually helps the tree. I don't know how, but I remember somebody told me that because I remember I used to do volunteer work at my church, like every day before
Mm-hmm.
I had a job, and
Yeah.
there was this guy that we worked with. His name was Joe, and the church bought a peach tree to plant in front of one of the properties because they owned like
Uh huh.
they had a lot of problems with like um, people using like the building across the street for like
Yeah.
trafficking and stuff like that. So the church was able to buy the building and kick everybody out,
Trafficking, like.
like drugs and just prostitution and a bunch of other
Mm-hmm.
stuff that would go on around there. And the church was able to purchase the property just to get the people out of the area. You know, they wanted to start cleaning up the
Right.
area. Not that they weren't welcome to be there. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's more so like it was causing problems because a bunch of kids were coming every week. I mean, we were always around there, and those people were just, you know,
Yeah, I don't wouldn't. I
causing.
don't want. I don't want drug dealers and shit living right next door to me.
Yeah, so they cleaned up the property, and
Well,
they
so it was like a trap house.
kinda. It was just like
Yeah.
you know, anything goes kind of dealio, and they ended up planting. They bought this tree. We were doing gardening work for them around the property, and they bought this tree, and it was a peach tree. And Joe was like, "That's not gonna grow here in California." He was like, "It says right here on the back of the. I don't know where they got this and why they would plant it. It's like, and these are the things that like Home Depot in California is selling. It's like, why are you selling that here?
Oh,
Because it's not gonna
I
grow."
wanted. I wanted to show you something real quick.
Yeah.
Because we started growing hops.
Oh dang, dude.
Yeah,
They took
it's
over.
pretty. Oh yeah, dude. They grew really. So pretty excited about it.
That's ripping. That's super cool, dude.
Yeah, so we're gonna probably make some beer.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to be drinking, but it's like I don't know what else to do with all those hops.
Sell it. You brew it and
Yeah,
sell it.
right.
I mean, like,
Yeah, yeah.
how many craft breweries are out in Moses Lake?
There's actually quite a few.
Is there? I feel like there's a
Uh,
bunch here, and there's a bunch in Western Washington too.
but Papa's restaurant and casino, they do a brewery. It's called like Ten Pin Brewery. They do like their own craft beers.
Hmm.
They own like their own farm that they grow all their hops at. It's just right down the road from here. Well, it's a couple miles down the road, but our like I've driven past their farm multiple times. Their hops look nothing like those hops. Like theirs are just like strands that kind of grow up. That's like a bush.
Yeah, dude, it's like
Yeah,
crazy
that thing
thick wood.
grew. Yeah, it just I wasn't even sure if they were going to grow because we planted it. It's like it was September, October of last year, and they kind of were just dead, obviously all winter. I mean, but apparently, if you plant them and like the roots are able to kind of
Some
get their
ground.
roots in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Yeah.
like they can kind of settle in a little bit. They won't die in the winter
Nice.
completely, at least. Yeah. So
You
yeah,
thought
I'm
about
excited.
getting like how hard would it be to grow like barley or something like that?
I don't know. I don't even know
Because
like
it's like
what
that
kind of
major
climate do they grow
component.
barley in?
I don't know. I just know it's like one of the major components of making beer is like barley.
Oh,
It's like and like a type of like grain, just grain in general. And then I guess you would just research like what kind of beer you would want to make, like,
right.
and it pretty much goes from there, and then how strong the beer tastes. The hops are used to like preserve the flavor
Well, and you can use hops in cooking as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd like to try and figure out something cool to do with them as far as cooking goes,
Mm-hmm.
like a real hoppy barbecue sauce or something. I don't know, something like that. Not real hoppy because I don't really like hops are super bitter, dude. I bit into one and I was like, oh.
That's the IPA for you. That's
And
that's
I don't like IPAs like
yeah.
at all. Yeah,
I grew to I grew to like them. It wasn't something I
yeah.
originally liked at all. And over time, like I think my if I was going to like pick a beer that I was going to drink, it would be like just my Budweiser would be Blue Moon. Like that would be like what I
I
would
do
pick
like Blue
as
Moon.
like a standard. But I think that kind of introduced me into a deeper flavor of beers because I like the
Hmm.
citrus in it, and a lot of IPAs are very very citrusy. So I
Yeah.
lean towards more citrus taste in beers because I can taste that in them. Um,
Hmm.
there's some IPAs made by No Lie. They have a series called Squatch, which is like their Sasquatch. That's the brand. It changes every year. They do a different one every year here. Last year was a tangerine. The year before was I don't remember the year before. But this year is like a passion fruit, like IPA, and it's like they're all super fruity. So it's less like
Yeah.
an intense IPA and closer to like Blue Moon, I would say, in as a beer, in my
Right.
opinion.
Sorry, I gotta put my charcoal
Oh, it's all good.
in the smoker. Oh yeah.
How long is the cook on
Getting ashy.
pastrami?
It's like 6 hours on the smoker, and then until tender in the oven.
What's the cut used for pastrami?
The brisket flat.
Okay.
Yeah, I still do it with the point as well. It's just way fattier. But CJ's down in town was, they had a pretty decent price on brisket flats, and it was like, and it had really good intermuscular fat. So I was like,
Is that where
yeah,
you
let's
took me
get
when we
this.
bought the brisket?
Mm,
Well, you took me to a butcher out there. I don't remember which one. I think we got a
or did we
flat.
go to Ernie's?
I know we got like a half brisket or like a flat. We only got a portion of it because it still took like I want to say like 8 hours for you to cook, even that small piece.
I feel like we went to Ernie's.
I don't know. I just remember we didn't eat till like midnight or one.
Yeah, I know. If I don't start a brisket like either the night before or like really early in the morning, you're not gonna eat till late. That's why
Yeah.
I'm always.
Which I
That's why
don't
it's like,
mind
oh, let's do
actually
it.
when I'm there hanging out. It's not a big deal to me, like because
Yeah.
we're just chilling the whole time. Um, and then we don't really eat all day, so it makes it worth it at night. You just stuff your face at night.
No, I do that. I hate doing that too. I need to really like regulate my like eating schedule because I
Yeah,
just like I won't eat all day, and then at like 9 o'clock at night I'll just scarf down everything,
you have
and
3 plates, and you're like, oh,
yeah, and then I feel like shit, and I'm like, well, now I can't go to bed
yep. Because now I
for
gotta let
like
it
a
digest.
while. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so then I'm up till 1, 2 in the morning, and I want to be up at like 6 or 7, and I don't get up till 9:30, and I'm like, oh my god, it's like a vicious cycle.
Oh, dude, that was me the other day when we were up till 3 when we were talking. I
Yeah,
woke
I was
up at
hurting, man.
like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I was like, because I don't remember the last time I stayed up purposely till 3. I more than average. I think I'm staying up till midnight. Um,
Yeah,
I recently have just like I need to stop. It's not good.
yeah, I
It's
need
not
to stop too,
healthy.
man.
It's not healthy.
Mm-mm.
It's a really bad habit, and I just got in the habit because I'm like I'm just chilling, and
Hmm.
it's just not good for the next
Are you
day.
going to school or?
It's kind of on the table to we're kind of in this debate right now between Jordan and I. I want to go to school, but I also figured like we were talking about how are we going to make money when I'm in school, because just me working part-time and going to school isn't gonna like provide. And that kind of like part of the
Right.
conversation that we were getting to the other night about, you know, I really want to get a house, um, and it's difficult because if I was to go to school, basically we're putting that off for like another 4 years. Because
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to buy a house if I was going to school, because the amount of money I'm making just alone on my O2 is it's a lot of money. Uh, Granted, graduating as an engineer would provide like an extra 30 to 35K on top of already what, so I'd be making over six figures if I was to be able to
Right.
get an engineer's degree, which I want to do because even if I was to become an O1, which right now is kind of what we're debating, um, I could become an O1 because I only have 2 years of an apprenticeship to do as opposed to a 4 year because I already have an O2. So it already counts towards
Right.
like half of the apprenticeship. That's what they told me at the CITC, which is the people I have to do the apprenticeship program through now. You have to be in an apprenticeship program to even get your commercial license or get any type of an electrical license. I don't know if you know that now. Um, as before as when
I
you
didn't.
and when I did my apprenticeship, it just had to be through a company, and I had to do my CEUs, and the company would just have to affidavit the hours. Now, the apprenticeship program has to be responsible for the company sending them my hours, and I have to log them in this book.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird. There's a
Okay.
blog book where I have to write hours in and stuff like that, and have to submit it so they can keep it in the system so that the state can, if they ever audit, they have a record of everybody's hours. So it's mandatory to do now. So it became there's a little more hoops to jump through. And actually, if like you were to, because you would have to say you wanted to go back to doing electrical,
Mm-hmm.
it's not enough to
And I thought
have.
about it, by the way.
I mean, there's still money to be in it. Like there is the truth to that. It's not enough to have your apprentice card anymore. You now have to be a part of a apprentice program through the state,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a new card that you have to have that says that you are in an accredited or group of people who are responsible for keeping your hours and stuff like that.
Yeah, I kind of got fucked on my hours, dude, and it really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, because
I didn't know that you had like 90 days or 180 days to turn in all your hours. So I was just getting the sheets and getting them like stamped and everything, and I was just holding on to them and accumulating them. Well, and then I started working at E2, and I was like, hey, will these guys give me my hours? I was like, because I mean, I have well over the hours that I need at this point. I just need the schooling, and so like right before COVID, I went down to Wenatchee, joined the union because I was going to start doing the classes down there. Well, then
Yeah.
COVID hit. I got laid off. The fucking union shut down for
COVID.
dude, forever. I could not get a hold of anybody, and I call every week, and then finally I get a hold of someone. And I'm like, when are you guys going to open back up? Like, what's going on with the courses? Like, what? And they're like, we don't know. I'm like, okay. I was like, can I do it online? They're like, no, you can't. Well, you guys got to figure something out. And they just no answers forever. I mean, for a couple, like over a year, maybe 2 years, and then E2 like wouldn't sign the hours and send them over, and and then I got obviously then they just like laid me off permanently. You could say fired, but not. It wasn't really a firing. It was you're like we don't.
Yeah.
We're done working at Microsoft now, so we don't need you anymore. Yeah. So, put a really bad taste in my mouth.
I was really against.
Just everything in the electrical area. I mean, working for the union, working with those guys. Well, I just hated Seattle more than anything.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I liked doing what I was doing down at Microsoft, but it's like, okay, so contracting work isn't stable enough. Because, I mean, once the job, I mean, yeah, it was cool to make prevailing wage, and that was nice and everything, but it's like, but what's the fucking point if, every year I have to find a new job? Like,
Yeah,
that's not stable enough for me. So after COVID and the hours thing and the union, I was like, you know what, fuck this. That's why I started the business.
Yeah.
And to just keep money flowing, I just help Harold out and I sell whatever I can. And I do all right. I mean, for doing it myself, I don't think I'm doing too bad.
No, I mean, like, you're still within your first, like, 5 years, you know?
Yeah,
And it takes a while
I've
for
just
a
entered my
business.
I just entered my third year of business. I literally just had to
Apply for your
what do
business
they call it?
license.
Yeah, you just have to keep like update your information and
Yeah.
it's like your annual something or the other. I don't remember. And yeah, so I just had to do that again. I was actually, I don't know, it was like a week ago or so. I was working on some stuff online at like 2 a.m, and I was like, "What's the date today?" I was like, "Oh shit!" And I couldn't remember the website. Took me like 2 hours to. I was like, "Damn, what's it called again?" I always get like the Department of Revenue and the Secretary of State, like all that shit, and I just get so confused with which one's which. Uh, like who I file this through and that through. That's something I need to work on. I'm pretty bad at remembering uh, to keep up with all those things, like following your quarterly, you're filing your quarterly, your income and stuff like that. I always forget, like constantly. And then and then I'll get an email like, "Oh, you're delinquent." I'm like, "Oh shit! Don't shut the business down. I need it." But I don't really uh, make enough to report off of it, and but,
Yeah, that's kind
got a
of
tool
where
show
we're
coming
at.
up though.
Oh,
A tool
yeah.
show
You were
coming up
telling me
though.
that.
Yeah, yeah, on the 13th. He was Tyler's the guy's name. He was actually over last night. They all were. I ended up cooking for like 20 people last night.
I was hoping you were going to hop
Yeah,
on, but, yeah, that's why you were
yeah,
busy.
yeah. Everyone was over last night, and the gal ended up spending the night, and it was like, yeah. And I told her, I turned my computer on. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Play video games. What are you talking about?" She's like, "We watch a movie," and I was like, "I fucking hate movies." Just like, if I don't like her like that, so it doesn't matter to me. Uh,
You're like, no, let's watch
so
that time I reincarnated into a slime.
yeah, right. Yeah, you want to watch anime? Actually, yeah, I'm totally down with that. And we ended up watching American. Well, I guess I ended up watching American Psycho. I had never seen it
Oh, that's a
before.
good movie.
The ending was retarded. I don't even get it.
It's ambiguous. It's not meant to.
Yeah, it's like,
be
did he
direct.
actually kill anybody?
That's the question. That's the
Yeah,
point of
did
the
he?
ending.
Because the guy's
Even
like,
to
"What are you talking?"
himself, he doesn't know.
Yeah, it was so weird. I was it ends with him like sweating, like, huh? I'm like, wait, did he kill anyone?
I think the general
Did he?
thought is like it plays on the think of the average people like in office world, you know, and the psychosis they put themselves through. I think it plays off of like the average businessman's daydream of like being something more than just sitting at a desk pushing paper all day.
Right.
You know, I think that was the whole
Oh,
point of the movie. So, did he do those things? Yes and no. I think that's the answer to the question. You know,
excuse me.
I
Yeah, it
also
was
think it
super
kind of
weird.
nods at people who are higher up in the scale, like get a pass almost, like because that was like when he goes back to the apartment where he's storing all the bodies and they're showing off the apartment, and originally it's all bloody and
Yeah,
everything, and he's like, I don't understand, and the realtor's like, you need to leave, like
yeah,
like kind of hinting at like, yeah, we know, but we're letting it go, get out of here, kind of. And I feel like that's kind of like a nod to like certain things in society, like people who have money will always get away with crime. I think maybe that, and I may be just full of crap. I don't. I mean, but I think
I mean,
that's
you're
the point of
not
the movie.
wrong though. I mean, it's funny. I was because Tate's going through all this crap, whether he did it or not. I don't know. I'm not the guy investigating him. I mean, he has made a lot of omissions on the internet, but that's one of the things he said. He's like, if it, that's why he liked Romania, is because you had access to corruption. Because everybody at the top gets away with everything because they just pay them off.
Yeah.
And and people are greedy, and greed is, I see why greed's a sin, because it does horrible things to people.
It just makes you think you can do whatever you want. Like, and it's kind of
Right.
sad because, um, I don't know if I touched on this with you the other day, but modern society, like the average middle class person, is a million times more wealthy than the peasants that fill 90% of the world. I would say that the average middle class people who have the ability, we were talking about like the ability just to do what we're doing right here, just to be able to
Mm-hmm.
speak magically on the internet in front of these, with our technology, our phones or the computer or whatever we use as assets to do it. Um, and then later after we're done, you're going to go back to cooking your pastrami, and I'm going to go do whatever with my kids. Whereas the average people out in the world, they have nothing. So they're worrying about their next meal. So when somebody with money comes along and tells them, yo, let me get away with this, I'll pay you a bunch of money. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. I'll sell myself for a couple $1,000s because to them, that's like rice. I mean, like that, I don't know. I'm not trying to just speak about rice, but like that's a meal for them for like a couple months,
Yeah.
maybe
Oh
maybe
yeah.
a year's worth of food in their country. So like, no wonder corruption is rampant. Like, it's
Well,
just
yeah, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to care about your like morals and stuff like that when you all like literally the only thing you could think about is where you're going to get your next meal and your next glass of clean drinking water. Like it's really hard to expect people to like. It's easy for a lot of Americans to sit on their shining hill and be like, "Oh, look at how terrible these guys are." And it's like, dude, you're an American. You are the 1% of the world. I
yeah.
mean, it's just a fact. Like the lowest, like 30 grand a year. I mean, you can live like a king in tons of places
Dude,
making
just
that much
across the
money.
border, just in Mexico, just Baja
Yeah.
California, like you hop right over the border. Granted, you come over there with some money that the cartel is obviously going to want a piece.
Mm-hmm.
But even them, like, and that just proves the point, right? Like, they
Yeah.
see you and they're like, I know you have the money to be able to pay something, and
Yeah.
we'll guarantee you don't die. And by the people we mean that will kill you, us, we'll kill you and take everything,
Mm-hmm.
and you can live
Or
on
you
the
can give
beach
us a
here.
cut.
Yeah, you can live
Yeah.
on the beach here, and we'll protect you, but you need to pay us out because, first of all, you're not from Mexico. You don't belong here. You don't speak the language as well as we do. You don't understand the customs, and you don't understand how business works around here. We're the politicians. Like,
They
so
are.
it kind of becomes a apparent, like,
They enforce their own laws.
yeah.
Yeah, they're
Not
basically their
Epstein.
own state.
Right before McAfee died, he was paying people off to live in
He
another
was.
country. Like, and it was because the gangs there were threatening him. So it was just like, to him, he was
Mm-hmm.
just like, well, like, I
He's
get to
like, yeah,
live
do to play
comfortably.
ball.
I get to live comfortably. They'll leave me alone, and they could do whatever they want. Not like he was a fan of the corruption. It just kind of proves that people with money can do things that even, and that is the line, right? Like, we see it as, even us, we can't do whatever we want. I can't do whatever I want. Like, I can't. I don't have that kind of, what's called FU money, right?
Yeah, I got a ticket for not wearing my seatbelt the other day.
Yeah.
Oh God, it made me mad. It's like really, man. Because in my opinion, it's like if I choose to put myself in danger, that's my problem. Yeah, you might have to clean up my body, but it's still like at the end of the day, it's like you're not going to give me a ticket for going cliff jumping. I could very easily die jumping off of a cliff into water. Tons of people do.
Yeah.
But why are you out there handing everybody tickets if you're so worried about my my life? If you want to protect my life so much, no, it's a money grab. I get that people die in car accidents, but people also die eating a hot dog. Like, Wait,
Yeah, you're gonna
you
be
know?
watching over my shoulder as I'm illegally downloading a song, or if I
Right.
like you can't. Certain laws are really funny, and even like that, I don't agree with. If I was a famous musician, uh, I wouldn't be making my money off of sales because album sales aren't what make you money as a musician anymore. I don't know if you know that, but the music
It's
industry
brand
makes
deals.
it's brand deals and concerts. You don't make your money on your
Yeah.
album sales anymore. You have to do venues. You basically work. You're like a pony, like at the circus.
Yeah.
You literally have
Well,
to turn yourself
YouTube.
into a circus animal and go around the world parading yourself just to make a dollar. And they make a lot of money, but the cost
Yeah.
at what it takes to fill a venue, the insurance to provide any acts of terrorism or any unwanted problems to arise, they have to pay for that. And then there's the worry, like if you get sick or something happens to you, you got to reimburse everybody. I mean, there's a lot of risk that goes into touring. It's not just, oh, I
Yeah.
made my money because I played a song. Um,
Right. Yeah. The artists of today make 1,000 times more than like the Elvis like did,
oh
and
yeah,
Elvis was better than a lot of them. And I'm like, a lot of the old singers songwriters, I think, were better in a lot of ways than nowadays music. I mean, everything's auto tuned and
processed.
it's all fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't even write their own music.
Yep.
Somebody else is writing it for them. So it's like you're literally just the face of this brand that they call uh, Drake
You're
or
a
something. You
safe
know what I'm saying?
investment. You're a safe investment is all you are. Like, and that's it's actually like a deeper look into corporatism itself.
Mm-hmm.
But what the music industry became was it's the same with the video game industry. The video game industry is like failing like time and time and time again because um, people like the music industry and the video game industry, television, movies, they don't want to take risks because taking a risks means that they have a chance to lose money. Whereas the safer bet is to always bet on something that will guarantee them at least double what they made. What they're learning though is society is kind of um, turning away from accepting that form of content. They're paying with their dollar, their watch time, and they don't want to give them their money anymore. Uh,
Yeah, but billionaires aren't concerned with money. They're concerned with ideology.
they and the other thing is that you actually, if you look into how movies, for example, are made, um, there's a lot of LLCs that actually produce a lot of movies, and they're only
Yeah,
produced for like one-offs, or if anything isn't gonna make money. So like the problem is if a studio doesn't make its money back off of the sales of tickets for a movie coming out, even though they spent $100 million on a movie, the
yeah,
theater already, or not the theater, the production company and the directors and everything already made their money back uh, through the LLC as a tax write off, which is way more valuable to them in general than the sales of the tickets are because they just write the movies off, and
right.
they that's how they just basically produced a movie for free, pushing an ideology, then made a tiny bit of
Yeah,
cash back, and it doesn't really matter because then they bankrupt the company, the LLC, and they shut it down, and it never produces a movie again. So it doesn't really matter. There's no repercussions on producing a bad movie for Hollywood now.
sorry.
No, it's
I know
okay.
I'm like moving around a whole bunch.
No, it's all good.
I was just thinking, I was like, my charcoal's gonna burn out, and I need to get a piece of wood on there.
No, it's all good, dude.
On me too. There we go. I gotta make some noise for a second. I gotta cut a chunk of wood.
It's all good. Here, I'll take care of that. It's all good, dude. No problem. I think it's well here. It's a pretty nice day here. Let's see. Man, I wish I was there, chilling with you. Uh, it's fun. I enjoy it. I don't know. It's just a chill time. Not like anything always has to happen. You know, it's just yeah. We were speaking about yeah, I was just talking about how basically like everybody who thinks that ideologies being pushed in mainstream whatever ideologies they are. I mean, I don't even want to call them I don't even think saying leftist, it's more so that's such a broad term. It's very more it's more distinct than that. It's anti-human in my opinion. The ideologies they're pushing, I think it's I think that's the bigger idea. It's brainwashing to get people to believe in certain things. You know, get people to believe in. Um, I mean, ultimately, a lot of the ideology that they push is to get the human race to think that they're nothing. I think I think that's really important to understand because we are the most yeah yeah. I think we are the most important creation in history, and we have been brainwashed into thinking we're not. We are nothing. Yeah. Like, yeah. God finds a way, man. I mean, it's I mean, if you think that's what God has brought you to accept and you're like, well, this is just the boat that God sent me. It's like I mean, there's you can I here's I think you can take not you you should and I don't advise any which way. I think it's up to people's discretion to choose whether or not they're going to get the shot. I chose not to because I don't like the health ramifications. All the evidence is coming out about the myocarditis and other health afflictions that are coming from people who have gotten the vaccine. Um, do I also believe that some people got it and things are okay? Yeah, but I just think that's just medical. It's medical. Yeah. Yeah, like there wasn't even just like one. Yeah. I'd have more respect if people were like, it wasn't real and we all fell for it and it's my fault. I mean, like, it wouldn't fix everything, but I would have definitely more respect for people to understand. And maybe this is just my ignorance, and that's fine, because I'll accept that. Uh, but when I think back to all the stuff that happened 2020, 2021, 2022, um, there's, I mean, it was all about control. It wasn't real. I mean, I don't think I got sick of COVID. I never got COVID. And I got people still to this day telling me, oh man, I had COVID last week. I'm like, how do you know you had COVID? How do you, like, it wasn't a cold, it wasn't the flu? Now we don't even say it was the flu. We're just like, oh, I had COVID. I had COVID. It's like, mentally conditioning. It's mentally conditioning for subjugation. Oh yeah, because you're just freaking out and you get sick because you're stressing out because stress induces things like that. You know? Mm-hmm. I got cancer is what he got. Those, I, it's all just mental. I think the human rate. Okay, so maybe now is a good time to kind of get into some certain things about uh, certain thought process, and I think um, humanity is constantly being set up for conditioning to rebel against, in my opinion, Christ. I know that's probably not the kind of cold open you want with that kind of a conversation, but in reality, um, how I see certain things that have been playing out over the last couple of years is that I think people are being conditioned, one, to think of themselves right now as nothing. Right? Oh, we have to become important. We must fulfill our destiny. We have to awaken ourselves to greater consciousness. That's actually one of the bigger things I think a lot of people are talking about. And I think what's happening is a lot of stuff is being exposed, a lot of evil, and that is the truth. I don't disagree with that. I think a lot of things that are coming out are, um, in the short term, I think are good to be exposed. But the long term, what it does is it's going to cause a mass distrust in every system that exists across the board. No, no, it is a terrible idea. You want them to do their job. You want them to do their job. Yeah. Yeah, it's a competitive capitalism. It's supposed to be that way because it's supposed to produce better products over time. Like that's the point of competitive capitalism. It's a free market. It's not restricted to, oh, we're only allowed to have one Google, one Apple, one Coke, one, Milton Bradley, like whatever it is, like that's not the point. It's competition forces a company to stop being stagnant. And when a company becomes stagnant, it provides a better opportunity for people to have better products or better lifestyles because that's advancement in technology. And like, um, but what like we were talking about is it's causing a mass distrust of every system, and that's not repairable. It's not something that can be fixed because it can't. It won't once things are exposed. Um, I say this not because I have my own opinions on things like world government, on world organizations. I don't know if everybody believes what I believe, but I think that the agendas of people who have money, the people who are trying to subjugate humanity, because how kings have always viewed people that are not part of the royalty as peasants. They have always viewed us that way. And that mentality has never changed because those families have never changed. It is never those people who have never lost power ever. Yeah, it's the allotment of the chaos they want. Like it's in the bounds of what they deem worthy. Yes, is it chaotic to the average person? Of course. But to them it's like, "Oh, it's not too far gone where I can't do something about it." Like if I want it to stop, all I have to do is push a button and it'll stop. They're instruments. Um, yeah, I actually agree that everything happening right now is a is a portion of one is a part of God's plan. I do think that everything that is happening is a part of God's plan. Um, I was reading. Actually, I think I told you this. You said that you had some questions about Job, but just to kind of say, I actually was reading. I've been reading Job for the last like 3 weeks. Even before you even brought that up, Jordan bought me this one book about it was a Bible study for Job, and then I bought another one because I wanted in my own time to go through certain things because the analogy of Job is, even when a man does everything that's right, God will still allow tests to come towards him to to see if Job will continue to praise God in hard times. And what is happening right now is everything is a part. Like I said, everything that's happening is a part of God's plan. The exposure that's happening en masse is a part of God's plan. God says anything that is done in darkness will be brought to light. That is the truth about what is happening. Um, I do believe that the public's opinion on the institutions and governments and the the health industry, the food industry, Wall Street, I believe that those views will not be erased, and it is irreparable. And it's irreparable for a reason. It's not because they're going to be able to lull everybody to sleep again. That's not what's going to happen. It can't happen. Once Pandora's box has been opened, you can't put it back. You can't put that all back away, because we are in the age of open information. They can't shut down the internet. That's not going to happen. They can't do it. They could ban you from certain websites, but there is an alternative. There is a way of getting your message out there. People will always find a way to get the message out. And the thing that people try to suppress is what grows and grows and grows. It always happens, and it's happened with history. Christianity is the biggest example of that. Nations upon nations have tried to smother out Christianity, and Christianity has grown and grown and grown to the point where even America, being founded by Christians, was able to be birthed as the place of freedom. And we take that freedom for granted in greed and pushing off the responsibility of the Great Commission on, oh, that's the pastor's job. That's not my job. Even though Jesus told me I have to go give the word. No, that's the pastor's job. So, yeah, I want America to stay free so the pastor can keep preaching the gospel. In reality, that is all of our jobs as Christians. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You complain about the next generation. Mm-hmm. Yep. Or even the trust of their constituent spouses. Men and women, whichever way it is. It's just And that's man's sinfulness to desire power, and power corrupts absolutely. You know, that's the problem, is that and that's why power is not given to each of us, which I think you're right on. That is like, we have freedom, but that freedom doesn't mean that we get to live wicked lives, because there is consequences to living that way. Like, even if we don't, yes, there, I believe in an ultimate punishment, but I do believe, like, yes, because that is what we're owed. And it doesn't even stop with death, you know? We die a second time. That's the important part, though, is that you recognize that, because the average person says, "What are you talking about? I'm a good person. What are you talking about? You're full of it. I'm good. I'm not like that guy over there. I'm great." But what goes on here, and what goes on here is so much more important than what goes on physically, because this is where nobody sees. And if nobody sees that, oh, I'm a liar here. I'm a cheat. I'm a pedophile. I'm, a thief. I'm a drug addict. I just look at women all day. Like, everything that happens here matters more than anything that you do, because this is the person, is not outside. The inside is the person. So that's why the inside needs to be changed. What we're witnessing with humanity is they're being shown that they want to achieve higher status, as it's not just like evolution. It's like, and a lot of people buy into that, is, the whole transhumanism movement, um, where society is heading a higher consciousness. Um, I believe that uh, people will they're gonna push things like, oh, people will be able to understand each other when all of us are connected together, because then you'll all see from everybody else's standpoint, which is a very dangerous thing, because we're individuals for a reason. We are not meant to be a collective. That's not how we were created. We're not like uh we're not like ants, or it's like the species Hymenoptera, which is any species that has a hive mentality and has one being that they serve, because it's given orders to them. So it's like wasps, bees, ants, I think termites. They're from an order called Hymenoptera, and that's not how society was made. We are individuals. We individually think, because each of us have an individual relationship with our own families, and each of us have an individual relationship with God. And the average man may not think he has a relationship with God, but God has a relationship with them. God knows them. God knows how many hairs they have on their head. God knows their name. God knows when they were born. God knew them before they were formed. So a lot of people don't like to hear about those things, because it makes them uncomfortable, because then they have to answer to somebody. And yeah, no, I think well, it's the truth. It's either somebody else's fault, or somebody else. We try to point the blame. Oh, these people are way worse than me. Why am I? It's the people who are put in charge. They should be responsible for all the horrible things going on. And it's like, yeah, but like for me as a dad, weren't you just like you got too mad at your kids over there. You were yelling at them too much, or you didn't do what you said you were gonna do, or you're waking up at 9:30 every day and being irresponsible. Like those are things that I'm responsible for. Like, and I do have, and even like being slothful and being, that's a sin. That's a sin. That's a sin. Being slothful, not doing, not working, not using your hands. Um, yeah. That was how I was when I was smoking all the time. I mean, like, it was enjoyable for a season. It was enjoyable for a season. Um, and then it gets to a point where you're like, why am I doing this? I don't gain anything from this anymore. I don't. Yeah. Yeah, he'll go into shock. He's too old. Yeah. Because you want to be part of a community. You want to, and that's actually a lot of the reasons we go. If I drink, which I really 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 cut back a lot. Like we were drinking, we were buying beer, like, and like I said, we buy the kind of beers I like to enjoy. I like IPAs. Like, I mean, yeah, we were buying Trulies for a while, but in reality, like, it just gets to a point where I was like, I don't, I don't like if I'm gonna drink something, I'm gonna drink something I enjoy, right? So we were buying Trulies, and then we moved into we like this brewery here called No Lie. And actually, I like to go eat there. Like, I like to go. I liked my the way I like to have beer is I like to sit, and I like to have a glass. I like to get a pint. I don't like drinking personally. I don't like drinking from a can. Will I? Yeah, yeah. Of course I will. Like, I like it. You know, how I like to drink is like, and how I feel like it should be is if I go to dinner and I want to have beer with my burger, because I'm only gonna have a beer or two, like, that shouldn't be an issue because I'm not trying to get drunk. I'm just trying to enjoy my dinner. Um, You go, I'll have another. I'll have another. I'll have another. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. You feel sick. You gain weight. I had we go over to my father-in-law's house. We go over like once a week or once a weekend, like on Saturday. Jordan's actually there today. Um, we go over there for dinner to have dinner with Jay, and he likes to drink beer, and we we have beer there, and I used to have, and this is actually kind of funny, and it kind of like woke me up to drinking a lot there. I had a couple more than I should have. I think I had like 6 IPAs. Um, I was pretty gone. Not like I was incoherent. I couldn't talk, but I couldn't walk. And I was getting out of my chair. We were having a fire pit, and I fell, and I almost fell into the fire, and my hand hit the ash, and I got this nasty burn. It's not there anymore, but I got a really bad burn on this hand. Um, I was actually like sobered me instantly the moment I got burned. I was like, and I was like, dude, if I can't even like walk around, like just to get up, like there's a problem. Like now I have to self-examine, like what's my problem? Like why am I doing this? Um, and that was like a 6 months. Yeah, there was like 6 months ago, maybe more, maybe. And that was also while we were drinking heavily during the week. Like we would I would get a 6 pack and Jordan would get a 6 pack of something she liked, and we would just down those. And like it would just be like, and it's so much easier because like we'd be sitting there and we'd go, all right, we're not drinking, and then the next day would come and Jordan would be like, can I go buy beer? And then like it kind of hits on me because I'm like, oh, I did kind of want to drink, and like so you start compromising because you start compromising your decision because you're like, I want to feel good, or I just want to buzz, like I just want to be buzzing, and I'm not smoking anymore, so it's the only release I get, it's my time. And then it started getting to a point where I had to like think, man, we're just wasting our money. um I don't want my kids to look at me. I don't want my kids to be uh seeing me like this all the time. Um, they just enjoyed their liberty in drinking. You're like, I could take you to the hangout. Yeah. No, it's the truth. It's I gained weight. I was when you saw me the first time when I was in California, right? Remember? And you had seen I had lost a lot of weight. When you saw me, I was 190 pounds. Before the last time you had seen me, before that point, I was 260 pounds. You know, I'm two. I'm about 213 right now. So, the last time you saw me, I think I was 225, which was when I went and visited in May. I think it was. Yeah. So like, and that was because I really, really, really stopped drinking as much. And I know that we said we were going to, and I really, really tried keeping that as much as possible, which I have been able to. And it's just, that was what it was about smoking pot. Like I had to stop talking about it. I had to stop hanging out as much with my cousin. Um, It was, and when I stopped smoking pot, it was really, really hard. It was not the first time, not the not. I've been off of weed for over a year and I want to say year and 2 months now, and so I, and that's no weed for me. Like not no, no. I'm very happy that I have not gone back. Has it? And it's been hard because there are times where I'm like, man, I wish I could smoke a joint. You know, man, I wish I could get a vape pen. Man, it's like, man, I wish I had some strong edibles right now. And that's just because like it's just old habits, but I had to stop listening to media that glorified it. Um mhm. And I get jealous cuz I'm like, "Oh, how come they could like with drinking?" I get upset. I'm like, I see guys that are way more fit than me drinking and I'm like, "Man, like see they can drink and be fit." And I'm like, "But I'm not fit." My problem is I'm not as healthy as I need to be. Like I'm only 30. I'm only 30. I now is my last chance to start, you know, and that actually kind of goes into another thing is like our body is the temple. My body is supposed to be like the temple of the Lord. If I'm just sloshed drinking and smoking and like do I really expect the Lord to use me in any way that's going to glorify him if I am a perverted object, for I can't glorify God. I can't be a witness to you. I can't be a witness to other people. I can't be a witness to my children because how can I tell my kids something? Oh, you got to be obedient to me because it's what God desires. And here I am, by the way, kid, dad's, had a hard day. It's like, dude, like get over it. Like, yeah, you're going to have hard days. It's going to be hard. Life's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. And it's not to like completely demonize alcohol. That's not the idea, I think, but I think that people easily slip into substance abuse. On a bender, yeah. And that's why I don't want to. That's why I couldn't drink consecutively every week anymore. I had 2 beers yesterday, and that was all I had. Um, I actually didn't even. I had 3 eggs. I had like 5 pieces of grilled chicken strip. Um, then we had it was called a cheeseburger soup, and it was basically like a bunch of cauliflower and cheese and bacon and hamburger and heavy cream and butter, and it's slow cooked in a crock pot. And then I took some of my jalapeno bread and we had that with dinner. And I had 2 beers and 2 cookies that because I made cookies for the kids. And I was like, in a normal day, that's probably not terrible. That's probably not a horrible day. The beer probably puts you over on top of having the 2 cookies, but like I think that is normal. But what I should be doing is, honestly, I need to do, cuz I want to, that's not keto though, right? I'm keto. I'm supposed to be doing keto, and everything in the day was keto up until the bread with dinner and the cookies and the 2 beers. And that really undoes a lot of things, and I've realized that the biggest the biggest thing that hinders me from losing weight is always beer. Um, and I need to like, I'll do good for 2 weeks. I'll lose like 5 pounds, and I'm like, oh, I'll drink beer today, and I gain 5 pounds in a day, because you drink beer, and you're just like, oh, dude, like, it's annoying. I mean, I I don't know if I don't know how we got into this conversation. You shouldn't eat that too much. It was kind of a tangent there about alcohol and weight. But we were talking about Job, and we were talking about hard times, accountability, and mentality of the average society. And it all kind of correlates because we're not the only people who do these things. We're not the only people who struggle in these things. A lot of these people, a lot of humans and people in general, all have secret sin, or all have substance abuse problems or addiction problems, and it's all varies, between sexual desires, fleshly desires, gluttony. It ranges just outwardly, right? And the conditioning that a lot of people we're being given somewhere to point the finger right now. Like, a lot of people, like you were saying, want to blame, the Jews or Israel or Zionism, and it's not that they're not a part of those things. That's not the point. Of course, like, it's it's been they are, I believe, an integral part of what is going on. Not because, like, I think they are. Everybody wants to say like they're the ultimate evil, and it's like that's not it, because they're, despite what anybody thinks, I think of it as opposed, or controlled opposition. Okay, and if you think that, if you politically were going to, or even just in general, if you wanted people to back you up, but you couldn't garner any support naturally, uh, it's not that you couldn't. You had to get people at their most delusional, or their most susceptible to influence. So you would gaslight everybody. You gaslight the entire world into something, and you go, "Oh, this has been, in my opinion, and some other people that I follow, or things that I read, uh, it kind of makes sense. Is where the world order has been set up to be the bad guy." And that is part of God's design, in my opinion. That was that, but it's also part of God, and it kind of goes hand in hand with Job. Like, Job, or Satan, we find in the beginning of Job, in Job chapter 2, or the beginning of chapter 1, halfway through chapter 1. It says that Satan has to come and give an account to God of where he's been, and God asks Satan, almost like God knows what Satan is thinking about the elect that God has chosen as the people he deems like, oh, they have a character that is above. They're not sinless, but they serve me wholeheartedly. And God asks Satan, almost knowing his heart, in my opinion, have you considered my servant Job? Knowing that Satan likes to make the people of God fall. And Satan's question to God is, he only serves you because you protect him. If you were to take everything from him, he would curse your name. He's basically inferring, like, he only conditionally loves you, and you're guilty of conditioning him. Which is why God knows Job's heart, so God allows Satan to take everything from him. And then he doesn't curse God. He actually does the opposite. It says that Job, in all of these things, Job did not sin against the Lord. And so Satan goes back to God, because it must be something they constantly have to do, is that the angels have to give an account to the Lord for what they're doing. That's the demons and his angels. And that's just God still allowing Satan to come into his presence, and showing that he is still submissive to God, even in his rebellion. He has to follow the rules. He can't break the rules. And so he questions God again, and he says that, if you afflict his life and you put him near death, pretty much, he'll curse your name. That wasn't enough. You got to take everything. So God allows everything to be taken from Job. And Job does not curse the Lord. Now, he does get into despair over these things, and he does issue the question, why? Yes, because that's a human reaction. That's just a human's response to tragedy. Anything bad that happens. Everything. His wife basically tells him, curse God and die. Like, she tells him, just drop dead, pretty much. His friends say, all these things happen to you because you're sinful, not because, it's just chance, but because, Job, you must have sinned. You must be hiding something. And we thought you were such a great guy, but now seeing all these things happen to you, you must really be the worst person. It's pretty much what his friends get at, and his friends are character assassinating him. Job is just like, so of course he's asking why, and I don't think it's a problem to ask why, but it's a problem for us to threaten God and demand an answer, which is the whole point of the book. At the end is where God finally answers Job. He is not. God doesn't answer us the way that we think we need. God answers us in the way that he knows that he has to correct something. So all these things happen to Job, and his question is why, and God's answer to him is, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Where were you when I drew the line to the sand to keep the shores from running up under the face? When I formed the springs in the ocean? Who can you command Leviathan or Behemoth? Like, all of these things that Job as a human was not able to witness or cannot conceivably do, because he's just a person. But God is basically telling him, like, I have all these things in my hand. All of these things. And all these things I allow to happen for a reason. And Job understands that, there is a reason for everything that happens, and it's not always like awesome. That's the point. Is it's not always awesome to go through tragedy in life. It's not always awesome to be the center of what God is trying to show in a moment. But as an example, like, God uses Job's life as an example for us to witness when tragedy strikes, or when we have questions about what's going on around us, to understand that God is in complete control. And God had to allow those things to happen. It was not because God gives us anything more than we can handle. If God knew that Job couldn't handle what Satan was doing, he would never have let Satan take those things away from him, because he would have cursed God. But because God doesn't give us anything that we can't handle, Job is able to go through these things and still praises the name of the Lord. So what's happening in society right now is the Christians are being tested. I think Christians are really, 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 really being tested right now. I think that's the definition is changing. We talked about it a little bit the other day about how with all the things that went on during the Olympics, and we talked about how yes, if you think of the idea of what they're trying to insult, it is offensive. Being actually upset at what they depicted is not truth. Now, what they did depict, in my opinion, is a mockery of what Christ did at the Last Supper. Yes, I do think that happened. I think it's wrong to profane that entire scene, because it is Christ having his last moments of peace before the worst tragedy that would befall a person in history happened, and he is literally spending his last moments of peace with the people he loves, who are going to take the gospel and teach people about his teachings. He took time out of his self to do this and spend this time with these people who he has spent 3 years with, discipling, answering questions, being there for through everything. I do think it is wrong to make fun of that time because he's still human. But what Christians should not be responding with hostility to the Olympics. They should first of all, they shouldn't be watching it alone. Like, in my opinion, you should not be watching that. Like, if you were caught in a place where you're like, I demand them to change it so I can go back to watching it, well, maybe it's an idol in your heart, because now you're worshiping the thing. Oh, I want to watch the Olympics and be able to watch it without seeing this stuff. And it's like, it's not you. It's, first of all, it's not made for Christians. It's not a Christian program. It's not a Christian event, and Christians are not celebrated in it. Yeah, it's about the best people. It's literally like, well, these are the best humans on earth. Like, it's pagan. Yes. No, I like it. My family and the time of the year. It's a lot, in my opinion. The end of the year. This is a side note. I think Christmas is a time of reflection of why you celebrate what you do, being thankful for what you've been given. I think that's the importance of Christmas. It's not presents. Like, yeah, those are nice. Those are blessings. It's not, but that's not the point of what you're doing. Like, there's a remembrance of, you're kind of instilling, like, for my children, like, this is an important time. Like, we have each other, so we should enjoy it. God has blessed us with that. So we as Christians are not, we're not of the world. We're not a part of the Olympics, and it should not be done. And I don't think it should be done with us in mind at all. I don't think that. I think that we should be able to uh, look at it and go, that's not what we believe. I don't agree with that depiction. It was blasphemous and it was wrong. Um, but to expect non-Christians to act like Christians is a fallacy. That's wrong. There, you can't force non-Christians to act like a Christian. You have been called to act differently because God has come into your heart. So there's an expectation for you to be sinless. But there's no expectation on the world to be sinless. Yes, they will be judged for their sin, but only because every person will have a chance and hear the gospel. Nobody will die on this planet without hearing about Christ. I know there are a lot of questions about, oh, well, what about these people off in, wherever, and they've never read a Bible. It's like, you have to trust that every single person will have that opportunity. And it has been said that the foundations of what God has taught man has been put in his heart before he was born. We are born with a moral compass, and that's like the big debate. One of the big debates between atheism and Christianity, right, is like, that's the question I have for an atheist. If everything is based off evolution, I could, and I've said this blatantly to people before, I could stab you right now, and I shouldn't get in trouble, and I shouldn't feel bad about it, because you just exist. You're just nothing. But something in my heart, something in a higher authority's heart has set a government up to say that is wrong. That I shouldn't do that because it's wrong, it's not acceptable, it's debased. But in evolution standpoint, you're just weaker than me. So I should be allowed to do that, right? And actually that it questions, that's like my question I've asked people who are atheists is, you can't derive morality from randomness. That doesn't make sense. My computer didn't assemble itself out of nothing, and all the code that has gone into it being programmed to work the way it does, as flawless as it possible, it didn't just happen that way. Somebody had to code Windows the way that it was to run a specific way, to run all the programs that my computer can be compatible with. So that's not just chance. That was divinely done. And divine is a loose word used there. Obviously, humans are not divine, but it was intelligently created. Yeah, to function the exact way. We have been, we have been, we as Christians have been called from our darkness. We were all once sinners, as just like everybody else, right? I was just like everybody else at one point. I was a sinner, and I needed to hear about the gospel. I needed to hear about what Christ had done for me because I was born in sin. I am a sinful person, and I've committed a lot of sin. Um, Now that I am a Christian, there is a different way of life that is expected for me to act. So, I, as upsetting and as sad as it is to make a mockery of my God before thousands and millions of people watching TV, um, they already humiliated him when he went to the cross, and that was 10 times worse than what they did. That was terrible. Like, it is um, horrid when you actually read the account of Christ's crucifixion, like even leading up to it and being passed around between different authorities and being dressed up like a woman, when Herod sent him away in a woman's robe, and a bag was put on his head because the Romans were being, you know, they thought he was just another lowly criminal, so they put a bag on his head and like, oh, prophesy who hit you, um, and he was innocent. He didn't do anything. Yeah, of course I'm upset about what they did. Like, it is a problem. But to say, oh, Christians need to fight or else their religion's gonna die. It's like you don't understand the first thing about Christianity. Nobody should be taking advice from Elon Musk about Christianity ever. No Christian. He's not a Christian. No, he's not a Christian. In my opinion, Trump's not a Christian, and that's probably a flack for a lot of people. People wouldn't like that I say that, but um, every Republican is a Christian, and that's where we're like, he's giving an idea of, oh, well, maybe we can be Christians who do this, and that actually goes into what I think. Like, I was a Christian who was like, yeah, I can smoke weed. I was created by God. I should be allowed to smoke weed, right? I should not feel any moral obligation to stop smoking because it was made by God. It's literally the easiest thing. They grow it out of the ground, I go pick it and I smoke it. That shouldn't be wrong. And that was my mentality behind it, but it's like it becomes an idol in my heart. Maybe marijuana wasn't a problem originally. Maybe it was meant to be like alcohol at some point. But what I know from marijuana is and I know that people who smoke would probably disagree with me. Marijuana is a highly addictive substance. I think marijuana is highly addictive because I was highly addicted to it. I had very bad fiending for when I had stopped smoking the first time. I had and it was only 3 days, and people would probably laugh at that, but I couldn't sleep for 3 days because of how much marijuana I was smoking. It was a lot. From literally the moment I woke up to the moment right before I would close my eyes, I was smoking at every available chance, whether it was bud or oil or edibles. It was any type I could get myself onto, and I know that is the extent of my drug use, But I was so ingrained in that when I stopped smoking, my body had a negative reaction to it, and it was terrible. And I could only imagine what it would be like for somebody getting off of heroin. You know, I didn't even want to know. Yeah, I which is funny because in the Bible, alcohol is found not like profusely, like, but even the Jews had wine, and they talked about wine, and it's like because there has to be a lot, like, it is expected, I think, that wine was meant to be something for celebration. And when you have something to celebrate, it should be something you use to lift your heart. That is like how it's always talked about. Um, and and when you get into the semantics of like, well, how far is the line? Like, where can I consume without it being a problem? And that's the same thing. You could say that with anything though. Like, how far is too far? Like, if I get into a relationship with a girl, how far is too far? I know that having sex before marriage is fornicating, but like, does that count kissing? Does that count like just being passionate without having sex? Like, and that's why Christ says in the Bible, you know, a man who looks with lust in his eyes at a woman has committed adultery in his heart. So that kind of draws a clean picture of sin itself, is that Jesus goes as far as to say, you know, you may not be fornicating with a woman, but if you're thinking about it, you've already done the sin. You're already doing it in your heart. So it's like, and that I believe is to teach you. I know it sounds like God is kind of drawing a line where, oh, you're not allowed to appreciate beauty in women. And it's like, no, God is teaching you to direct those thoughts in an appropriate manner. I can look at my wife that way. And I should look at my wife that way. I should look at my wife as being desirable, as something I want to be with, as somebody I want to be with, somebody I want to spend uh, time with intimately. And I believe that's why Christ says that, is because when we direct those thoughts to people who aren't meant to be with us, we are committing an adultery. We're training our brains. Oh, every single woman I see, I can just think this way about, because that's what it ends up being. In my opinion and my history of how I've dealt with that, is that when I was younger and I struggled with pornography and I struggled with lust and wanting to be in a relationship, I directed my thoughts those ways where I would think of women, and that's where my mind would go. And so there was no distinction in how I was thinking. But if you get married and you keep doing that, that's going to cause a problem, in your marriage. It's what's going to happen. It's why 70% of men are struggling with pornographic addictions. Even and the rate's probably higher than that. Men who aren't saying anything about it. It's because they have this thought, they have trained their brain to think a specific way, and they can't get out of that way of thinking, and because it's so addictive for that dopamine to gratify yourself with images of women that way, when the only one you should be seeing that way is your wife. And it's very damaging, because then I teach my sons unknowingly to do those things, and I don't want to teach my sons to do the things that I did, which includes drinking, pornography, smoking. Like, those are things I don't want my sons to have to deal with. Yep. As much as I don't like Jordan Peterson, um, he had this quote about parents who raise their children, and he said, "Don't raise children that you don't like." Meaning, like, if your kid is doing something that you don't really appreciate, it's your job and responsibility to put a stop to it. It is up to you. It's not anybody else's job to stop your kids from doing something you don't like or is going to be a negative consequence on their lives. You have to stop it. And we have to look inwardly for the reason they're doing specific things. If they're yelling and fighting all the time, what are they watching? Am I doing that? Am I? And that's something like my kids are very loud. My kids come from my mom and my brother and sister. They're very loud people. I'm more mild, and I've always been more mild, more like my father. Um, but I have to look at how my kids interact with each other. Um, they aren't like super physical. They aren't like beating each other up and hurting each other. Thank God. Um, my kids are very respectful. They love their mother. They tell her she's beautiful. They love their mom. Like, so there are a lot of pros that I see from how my sons react. I see my sons tell my wife that she's beautiful, that they love her, they love being around her. They're super, they're mama's boys. They're not like super mama's boys, but what I mean by that is like they respect her. So I know that's a positive influence of how they see how I treat Jordan. That is reflective in that. Um, my kids will be what I am, and if I'm not, and that actually kind of also is another reason why I had to stop smoking. Um, I wasn't spending as much time in the Word. I wasn't spending time going to church. I wasn't spending time meditating on God. I wasn't spending time being a Christian the way I'm supposed to be, that I call myself. Um, and basically, I'm teaching my sons they don't need that if I'm doing those things. When the only thing that's gotten me through my life up to this point has been being a Christian. Some of the hardest things I've been through, like, the only reason I got through them is because I trusted in the Lord, and otherwise I would have ended up as the average person, a drunk, a drug addict, a fornicator, and I mean that in the sense of like I wouldn't have any respect for my marriage. I mean it's just is what it is when I trust in things of the world. It's just why being a Christian is so much different than what the idea and you were saying earlier. I know it was a long spiel, but a lot of people are struggling with the identity and the definition of what a Christian is. And we know what a Christian is by their fruit. And that means we know what a Christian is by their actions. And their actions is not to go to war with the world. That's not what we're called to do, but we're called to give the gospel, to help those in need, and to be for those who are sick. Like Christ said, Jesus told the Pharisees that those who are well have no need for a physician. So, like, you're good, you don't need Jesus, that's fine. But there are people who do. There are people who need this. And they need hope. And they need something to understand that life is hard. And life does not get easier being a Christian. It gets harder. But it gives you an understanding and a perspective of something greater than yourself. Because we understand that we are sinful. We understand that we need direction. We need to understand why we have a moral base. Why is there a general line of morality that we all agree that we shouldn't pass, and why some people knowingly, like a pedophile knows, like they're justifying their sin, but they know what they're doing is wrong. A murderer knows that when he kills somebody, it's wrong. He likes to do it. That doesn't make it less wrong. He just likes to do it. He can justify it. He can gaslight people into saying, oh, well, like Ted Bundy, oh, well, like they left their doors unlocked. So in my opinion, they wanted me. I don't know if it was him. I know there was a killer that used to go around killing people. I'm sorry if I misspoke. I'm not trying to I know everything. There was a murderer when he was being interviewed. He would go around and he would just go to people's doors and only kill people who left their doors unlocked. And because to him, he's like, well, they must have wanted something to happen. And it's like, you're just gaslighting everybody. You're just like, you have a code you've created in your head to like make this morally okay. It's like, oh, well, I am the chaos in the world and this is morally acceptable now because, and in an evolutional standpoint, he's not wrong. Like, he's not wrong. Because they did leave their door unlocked, they're weak. Well, we can. I think we can kind of start toning it down here. I think the whole point at what I was trying to, and I know you didn't get to any questions. Um, and we'll get to those things as we'll get to those things eventually. I feel like this is a nice trial run of just like I'll here's what I'll do with this. Um, Here, let me just I could just stop